morning, good morning. Welcome everybody. And nice to have you all. Welcome. All right, I'm going to ask that if possible, if you can stand up, please, let's stand up. The airplane. We're just waiting for William Schneider for the flag.
If you would all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would like to invite Claire Spataro for the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Claire. Can we please have Maggie and there you go.
Dear Lord, today we honor our veterans, worthy men and women who gave their best when they were called upon to serve and protect their country. We pray that you will bless them for their unselfish service and the continual struggle to preserve our freedoms, our safety, and our country's heritage for us all.
Thank you so much. I think we can have a seat now. And as we're getting seated, can we please have a round of applause for the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts? All right, so among us today we have a few guests of honor. We want to acknowledge their presence. And these special guests came to be here with our veterans today. And we do have the town administrator, Ms. Denise Demboski. The chief of police, Chief Michael Selassie. I haven't seen Honorable Kate Hogan. She's on her way, okay. And we have the Honorable Jamie Eldridge. Sorry. And lastly, our guest speaker, Miss Lieutenant Colonel, retired, Susan Stevens. I have to say that. We can't short you on those achievements. We have to make sure we tell everybody. All right? So at this time, I would love to recognize all the veterans who are here today. And I think we can see everyone's name and the branch in which they served. Beside the name tags that have been provided, I would like to ask you all to stand and move around and move up and move to the wall as I read whatever branch you served in. If you can stand up, if you can. And if you can't, that's okay too. But we're going to read, and we're going to read one branch at a time. You come over and we're going to have a group photo, and then we can go on with the rest of the day. Is that okay? All right. And we will also have a small token of appreciation from the scouts from Troop 1, and they would like to pose to present the veterans with a Veterans Challenge coin, and at the conclusion, that's when the group photo is going to really happen, okay? Are you guys ready? Okay. All right. We will start with anyone who served in the Army. As the Army is getting ready, can we also have the Air Force? Anyone who served in the Air Force? Do we have anyone who served in the Coast Guard? And the veterans who served in the Navy? And the Marines? And lastly, the Space Force. Do we have anyone who served in the Space Force? Again, thank you so much for your service. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, everybody who took the photo, the group photo. As we make our way, breakfast is now ready. Please feel free, if you can, make your way to the breakfast table. Otherwise, if you need assistance, please let us know. So at this point, we can continue with the program, and I'm going to invite Miss Violet Ann from the Interact.
Yes.
Are you from Nashoba?
Yes.
Okay, and she will read us the poem.
If someone has done military service, they earn the title veteran and more. They earn our deep respect and admiration. They are special and no one can ignore. They sacrifice the comforts we enjoy. The list is long of all the things they gave. Our veterans are extraordinary people. They're loyal, dedicated, true, and brave. When terror and invasion were real threats, they showed us they can handle any storm. We owe our freedoms and very lives to our veterans who served in uniforms. Our veterans should be celebrities. They're exceptional. No other group compares. We're grateful for the many things they've done. They're always in our hearts and in our prayers. We owe our veterans support and friendship. Let no one ever question what they're worth. These men and women served us in our country. Our veterans, the very best on earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Violet. All right, at this time, I would like to welcome Rita Di Stefano French to come and work on the quilts of valor. Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Thank you. Always nice to be here. So many familiar faces. Thank you for your service, veterans. Quilts of Valor is an organization, as many of you know, because you received our quilts, started in 22 years ago by a mom whose son was in the Marines, and she had a vivid dream about active military sitting on the sides of their bed. She woke up in the morning and that was it. She started quilting and hasn't stopped, and somehow has recruited over 40,000 quilters to also make quilts for veterans in active service. To date, we have awarded over 430,000 quilts, all done by volunteers. Yeah. We rely on our donations of fabric and batting and quilters' time to get these quilts made for everyone. They are individually made. They are multiple patterns. We try and stay in the patriotic colors of red, white, and blue, and gold tones. And what else can I tell you about Quilts of Valor? We're just happy to be here. I'm part of Nashoba Stars and Stripes. We are in our third year. We're based here at the center. We meet on every Wednesday from 9 to 12, and then once a month in the evening on the first Wednesday of the month for non-residents to be able to come and quilt with us. So today we have two veterans that are here present that we'd like to award quilts to, and then we have one veteran who is unable to come out and join us, so he will receive his quilt at his residence here in town. And that veteran is Robert Walrath. So Bob will be getting his quilt at a future date. And today we have with us, we have Floyd. Where is Floyd? Floyd Irwin. Come on down if you don't mind. Floyd tells me that he was in the Army from 1966 to 1972. It was his friend who has received a Quilt of Valor from us, Norman, who nominated him today. Would you like to tell us anything about your service? I forgot to tell you. If I put you on the spot, just say no.
No.
Okay. That's fine. So I figure if I'm talking, someone else has to talk with me. So what we do in a Quilt of Valor presentation is we show the veteran or active personnel the quilt first, so they can see their quilt. Each quilt has a label on the back of it that denotes who made it, how it was finished, and the date. So Quilt of Valor is considered an award. You can't buy it. You can't, no one can buy it for you. You have to be nominated, and it is made with our appreciation for you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
The quilts are made to be used, loved, get it dirty, sleep with it. Even the dog can join you, and the cat. It's okay. Fully machine washable. Thank you. So a little poem before the next quilt. It is the veteran. It is the veteran, not the preacher, who has given us the freedom of religion. It is the veteran, not the reporter, who has given us the freedom of press. It is the veteran, not the poet, who has given us the freedom of speech. It is the veteran, not the campus organizer, who has given us the freedom to assemble and the right to demonstrate. It is the veteran, not the police, who has given us the right to be secure in our persons. It is the veteran, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the veteran, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the veteran who salutes the flag. It's the veteran who served under the flag. It is the veteran who gave his oath to support and defend the Constitution and our nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It is the veteran willing to give their life to protect your freedom and mine, whose casket one day will be covered by the flag. God bless our veterans. Our next quilt is going to be awarded today to Charles Ogilvie? Yep. Ogilvie, who was nominated by Susan, our guest speaker. Charles, do you want me to come over to you and give it? Oh, yeah. So I can share, Charles served in the Navy from 1969 to 1973. I'm not sure if the mic is portable. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Pardon me?
Anything you'd like to say? No? Okay. All right. No one wants to talk with me. So a very different looking quilt than the other one. In other words, you've seen. And on Karen's side is the label that we talked about. Charles, thank you for your service. So Nashoba Stars and Stripes and the national organization is happy to accept any nominations. So if you'd like to self-nominate or you have a friend or relative, please come see us, or you can get right onto the website. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rita, and your team. I can never get enough of those quilts. They're really beautiful. Thank you so much.
Just love making them.
All right. So at this point, we do have the Honorable Representative Kate Hogan in the building, and it's my privilege to really introduce Kate today to the veterans as a guest speaker, and also to our speaker, Lieutenant Susan Stevens. But I think we all know Kate. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I would just like to thank the Nashoba Rotary Club and the Rotarians, Catherine Hamill, Christine Mudgett, Susan Wilkinson, all the Rotary and Interactive Club members and volunteers. Without them, this doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen in some communities. It happens because people care, people remember, and their words become action. Troop 1 Stow Scouts, our retired Stow Fire Chief, Scout Leader J.P. Benoit. Lieutenant Colonel Susan Stevens, I'm sure you're going to be seeing her soon. Select Board members, I know that they would have liked to have been here today. I know many of them have full-time, and it was difficult for them to make, but I know that they were part of the planning process, and I thank them for their efforts. Our town manager, Denise Demkowski, I know that she's here today. Police Chief Mike Solis, hey Mike, and Fire Chief Barry Evers, both of whom are here. So to our veterans and families here today, thank you for your service. On Veterans Day, we honor the living, those who wore the uniform and returned home, carrying the weight of their service into the next chapter of their lives. From the Normandy beaches to Afghanistan's mountains, our veterans stood ready. Today's service members face threats that extend beyond traditional battlefields. Cyber attacks, disinformation campaigns, assaults on democratic institutions themselves. The burden grows heavier with each generation, not lighter. Behind every veteran stands a family who served alongside them, spouses who manage alone during deployments, children who change schools mid-year, leaving friends behind. Military families don't just support the troops. They sacrifice for our freedoms too. And words matter. Less than action? No. I'm proud to represent a Commonwealth that leads the nation in veterans services. And I do mean that. We do lead the nation of all of the states in the Union. Our state works most vibrantly with our veterans and their families. Through the Landmark Hero Act and beyond, Massachusetts delivers job protection for family members during deployment, dedicated support services for military-connected students in our schools, licensure portability so that military spouses can continue their careers and bring their licenses for whatever their particular skill is with them. In-state tuition continuity for military-connected college students so that a family move doesn't derail their child's education. We also honor the ultimate sacrifice through the Medals of Liberty and Fidelity. The Medal of Liberty commemorates those killed in action, and the Medal of Fidelity, created in 2022, recognizes service members who died from service-related injuries like PTSD or traumatic brain injury, also toxic exposure. This morning, or last week I should say, I witnessed 9 Medals of Liberty and will witness again presentations at a ceremony in Maynard where 15 families will be receiving medals, reminding us that fallen heroes were someone's child, someone's parent, someone's sibling, and someone's friend. Gold Star families carry a burden that never lightens. This Commonwealth stands with them always. Supporting military families is not charity. It is our sacred obligation. It's how we prove thank you for your service means something. It is how we ensure no family bears the cost of service and the wounds of war alone. To every veteran present, your courage truly inspires us. To military families, we honor you and we will never, ever break faith with you. Let us build an America and a Commonwealth that is actually worthy of our veteran services and sacrifice. Thank you to all who served. May we prove worthy of your sacrifice. Indeed, God bless our veterans, God bless our Commonwealth, and God bless America. Thank you, everyone, for being here to thank our veterans. I'm going to make my way back to the back of the room, but I have some pins that I'll just try to discreetly pass out as I move through. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Kate Hogan. It is my privilege to introduce our Veterans Day guest speaker, Lieutenant Colonel retired Susan Stevens. So just a little bit about Ms. Stevens. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Susan began her Army career in 1978 after completing ROTC training and earning degrees from Quinsigamond Community College, North Adams State College, and an MBA from Western New England College. Over her 24 years of service, she held leadership roles both on active duty and in the Army Reserve, serving at Fort Lee in Virginia, in Korea at Fort Devens, Hanscom, and she was also recalled to active duty twice, supporting Operation Desert Storm, Operation Joint Guard in Bosnia. Her distinguished career earned her numerous honors, including the Meritorious Service Medal, Army Commendation Medal, and the National Defense Service Medal. Please join me in welcoming this woman of substance. Of course, she's a Susan, so it makes me...
Thank you. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Catherine and Chris for allowing me to talk about my military career. It was truly a great career and one I'm very proud of. Is that better? Okay, so how'd I begin? Well, I graduated from Nashoba Regional High School and I made myself a bucket list. And on that bucket list said, go to college, get your bachelor's degree, get a job, and travel, see this beautiful country of ours as well as the world. Well, I went to college, and when I was at college, there's an ROTC recruiter was putting on a presentation. He was telling us how we could serve our country and how we could become a commissioned officer in the United States Army and how we could travel and see the world. That was my bucket list. I could travel and see the world at your expense, taxpayer dollars. You know, what better could I do? So the requirements were, I had to get my bachelor's degree, I had to take ROTC, the curriculum, and I had to pass officer basic training at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I got my bachelor's degree at North Adams State College, passed the ROTC curriculum, and I was off to Fort Bragg, North Carolina for my OBT training. That's where you got your hands-on training. Well, it wasn't easy there. It's where all your hands-on training went because you couldn't get that in a classroom. We had to qualify on the M16 rifle. For all of you that have seen that rifle, it's as big as I am, and it wasn't easy. We also had to do night training. We had to walk through a swamp and hold the rifle over our heads, and we were practicing being quiet. I was not quiet. There were snakes in that swamp, and I was making sure they knew I was there. We had to do map reading. They put us out in the middle of terrain, and you had to go from point A to point B. You had to figure out, you had to read, had to identify gullies and hills to get there, and that wasn't easy for me either. In fact, that was the hardest thing. We had to do the physical, pass the physical training test, 2-mile run, sit-ups and push-ups. I breezed through it. We had to crawl under barbed wire with our M16. That M16 became my right hand. And last, we also had to do a 40-foot rope drop. We had to crawl out on a rope, 40 feet in the air, hang from that rope, and drop 40 feet into the water. Whatever they threw at us, I did, because I was determined to go into the military. And at the end of that training, 6 weeks of training, I was commissioned a second lieutenant in the United States Army. I had a contract, 3 years active, 3 years reserve, with the option of doing all 6 active, and then as long as I performed, I could make a career out of it. So my first stop was Fort Lee, Virginia, home of the quartermaster school. The Army wanted to make me a quartermaster officer. Why? I don't know. I was trained, I had my degree in finance, but I would do whatever they wanted me to do. So 6 months later, I breezed through that too, passed all the exams. Then I was off on my first tour, South Korea. I was excited. It was a 1-year hardship tour. It was an unaccompanied hardship because standards of living in Korea weren't up to what that of the United States. Unaccompanied, no family, no spouse, no children. And I didn't care. I was single anyways. I was 22 years old, living my dream. Well, I was stationed at this camp called Camp Page, 6 miles from the DMZ. We was in the city of Chincheon, Korea. It was just me and the soldiers, and we had a great time. It was my first time leading soldiers. We worked together, we trained together, we ate together, we slept together, not literally. We toured the country together, and we even got involved in the community and put on a bike-a-thon to raise money for the School for the Blind. That year tour zipped right by. Next, I was on my way to, 10 months in the country. They asked me, where do you want to go next? And I said, it had to be stateside. And it had to be stateside because I was overseas. I like to do one or the other. Well, stateside, I said, I want to go to Fort Hood, Texas, the middle of the country. I hadn't traveled the country yet, except for the East Coast. But then the unthinkable happened. 2 weeks before I got ready to depart, I found out my mother was diagnosed with cancer. Sorry. And she had 6 months to live. So I asked the military if I could be diverted to Fort Devens, in which they approved. So I was assigned to the 104th Transportation Company, a company that U-Hauled U-Haul missions. They drove M915, they drove 915 tractor trailers. Well, I was a platoon leader. I was responsible for 40 soldiers, both men and women. And let me tell you, it was not easy because it was my second tour leading men. And I was in a transportation company, which I had no experience because I was trained in quartermaster and I was in personnel when I was in Korea. Well, I did okay. One day, the platoon sergeant came up to me and said, you have to drive that 915 tractor trailer. And I looked at him and I said, I can't even get up into it. What do you mean drive it? I said, I have a Jeep and I have a driver. That's all I need. He goes, no, if you're leading soldiers, and he was right, you have to be able to drive that tractor trailer. I said, one condition. We go out on the South Post where there's no soldiers, no civilians, and no buildings. And he said, okay, let's go. So off we went. I actually drove it. It was a semi-automatic. Wasn't that hard, but I only went forward, not going backwards or anything else. And I drove it, and I said, now I can lead my soldiers. I know what they're going through. Well, unfortunately, my mom did die. She died 6 months later. But I was thankful that the military sent me home because I could be close to my dad and close to my family. Well, I was 2 years into my contract now when my mom passed away. So I had another year to go, 3 years active. So I finally was time to say, do I want to stay close to my dad? Does my dad need me? Plus I had a 13-year-old brother. I had other brothers and sisters, but they were married and they were starting their own family, so I didn't know. But I had a year to decide. And at the end of that year, I decided to go into the reserves. I did my 3 years active and I had 3 more reserves. So I joined the 323rd Maintenance Company as a platoon leader. And you know, they say reservists are weekend warriors. Believe me, we did a lot more than the weekend. We did 1 night a week, we did a weekend, and we did 2 weeks in the summer. And I continue to spend your tax dollar money because we traveled during those 2 weeks. We went to France, we went to Canada, we went to Fort Hood, Texas, and we did all kinds of stuff. Well, when you get out of the military off active duty, you have to get a civilian job. You can't live on your military pay. So last year, my active, I was taking advantage of the military education program. Your tax dollars are paying for my education now. And I still couldn't think of a better person for your tax dollars to spend your tax dollars on. Well, my father said to me, he said, I was working on my master's for a whole year. My father said to me when I got off, how much more of your degree do you have to go? And I go, 2 or 3 more courses, maybe 6 months. He goes, why don't you go full time? He goes, I'll support you. I had great parents. They supported all of us, all of his six children. So I said, okay. So I went to school full time and I finished up with my master's in 6 months. And he was right. I got a nice job with Digital Equipment Corporation because I had a master's degree. Well, I finished my MBA. I worked for Digital Equipment Corporation, and eventually in the military, I got promoted to first lieutenant, and 3 years later, I got promoted to captain. And when I got promoted to captain, I had to switch my reserve unit. So I went to the 94th Reserve Support Command located at Hanscom Air Force Base. And it was there that I was in the S1 position, still not working in quartermaster. So I decided then that I should get a secondary MOS in personnel. Well, everybody remember what happened in 1990? The Iraqi War, preparation for the Iraqi War. I was at my desk at Digital and I got a call from my reserve unit. Captain Stevens had been recalled to active duty in support of then Operation Desert Shield. We were prepping soldiers to go to Saudi Arabia for the war. They didn't want me to go to Saudi Arabia because personnel. They needed me to take a team to go to each one of our units that was activated so we could make sure those soldiers were ready, make sure their life insurance was up to date, make sure they had power of attorney, wills, and make sure their families had their ID cards. Whatever the soldiers needed, we made sure they had before they left. Well, Operation Desert Shield turned into Operation Desert Storm on January 16th. And the war only lasted for about 6 weeks. So it was a relatively short war. It was over in February 28 of 1991. Then we had to bring the soldiers home. So what we did was I had to stay on active duty before I could be released to get all the soldiers home. So I was on active duty for a full year before I went back to my reserve unit. In 1992, my dad got sick. I got a call from his doctor one day. He was in the ICU unit, and he said, Dad's only going to live a few more days. Same time, I got a call from the reserve unit saying, hey, Captain Stevens, you've been selected for promotion to major. And I said, I didn't know whether to be happy or sad. My emotions were all over the place. Well, then I said, my dad's never seen me get promoted. I want to get promoted beside his hospital bed in the ICU unit. So I went and saw the colonel the next day and told him what was going on. And he said, when? I said, Monday. I said, it was Friday afternoon. I said, I thought my dad would stay alive. So he said, go clear it with the hospital. I'll take care of everything here. I went and saw his doctor. I told the doctor the same thing. I want to get promoted beside my dad's hospital bed. He said, I'll take care of it. So Monday, I went and saw my father and said, Dad, you have to stay alive. I've been selected for promotion to lieutenant colonel. I'm going to get promoted right here beside your hospital bed Monday morning. He shook his head yes. And I knew then he would still be alive. When Monday morning came around, he was still alive. Colonel shows up with the American flag, copy of my promotion orders, some of my staff. My whole family was there, and the ICU staff. We were all crowded around my dad's hospital bed, and right beside his hospital bed, Colonel read my promotion to major. To see the look on my father's face and the smile on his face is forever engraved in my heart. Then my dad actually lived for 2 more weeks. So then I had a decision to make. I went in the reserves, so keep my foot in the door, so if I ever wanted to go back on active duty, I could. Well, I decided that, my brother was grown now. He was married, started his own family, so I said, I'm kind of love my job in the reserves, and I love being I love my job at Digital, so I decided I had so much change in my life, I didn't want to change anything else. So we fast forward to 1997. 5 years later, sitting at my desk again at Digital, got a call from the reserve unit. Hey, Major Stevens, you have been recalled to active duty, this time in support of Operation Joint Guard. It was the Bosnia-Herzegovina contingency. Be ready to deploy in 3 weeks at Fort Benning, Georgia. 3 weeks later, I was gone. What the Army was doing was they selected certain individuals all over the country to meet at Fort Benning, Georgia, train together for 2 weeks, and then they shipped us off to Germany. I was stationed at Kaiserslautern. They needed us to run their emergency operations center, which looked over everything that was happening in Bosnia. Since I was a major, I was in charge of one of the shifts that we worked. We worked 4 12-hour days, 4 days on, 3 days off. And during that 3 days off, we traveled. So we went to, if you know the countries in Europe, they're all very close. So we were stationed in Kaiserslautern, so we could be in France in 45 minutes. So we went to London, we went to Holland, we went to France, we went to Liechtenstein, and we toured Germany, which was beautiful, with all the cathedrals and the castles. And for anybody that hasn't been there, I highly recommend to go there. Well, 8 months later, we were released from active duty, sent back to Fort Benning, and then moved on to back to our reserve center, and I went back to my civilian job. Well, now I have like 19 years and 10 months, and I'm thinking of retiring, but I got to get to 20 years. So the Army wanted me to take over their drug program, which meant what I did was took a staff, we went to every unit while they were drilling unannounced, because we were taking urine specimens from each soldier, sending them to Walter Reed, and if any soldier came up positive, that soldier was released from active duty. Totally supportive this program, because who wants a soldier that's on drugs have your back in time of war? Well, when they saw us coming, a lot of them would jump the wall. And one of them that we tested, one male soldier, came up positive for being pregnant. So we knew they were playing games. So we had to kind of move how we were doing it around, so they couldn't bring in somebody else's urine to test. Well, in 1999, I got a call from my reserve unit again. They said, "Hey, Major Stevens, you've been promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. Now you owe 3 years, but if you accept that promotion, you owe 3 more years of service." I said, now I got 21 years in the service, and I'm kind of thinking, I've been in a while, I want to retire. But then I looked at the difference in pay between a major and a lieutenant colonel, and I said, oh, wow, it's significant. So what I decided was, I don't have to drill. I can go in the inactive reserves, and the only way I could be called back to active duty is in case of war. But I still had to do what's called a good year to retain that title as a lieutenant colonel, and I did. And then 3 years later, I got a call from the unit. "Hey, Lieutenant Colonel Stevens, you've been selected for promotion to colonel." Now, which I got 24 years in, and I'm going, nah, there's not much pay difference between the two, and I don't want to stay in active duty. I don't want to do correspondence courses any longer. So I went into the retired reserve. So I served 24 years. Didn't go as I originally planned, because when I was 22 years old, I was planning on staying in for 20 years. But then what 22-year-old plans, and what plans when you get older don't change, anything could change. But I always said, hope for the best, expect the worst, and take whatever God gives you. And because God doesn't give you more than you can handle. So now I got my military pension. I got full medical benefits for the rest of my life at no charge. And we know how important it is to have medical benefits and how costly it can be. Well, in closing, when I finished my OBC, this captain came up to me and gave me this piece of paper. He said, "Wherever you go, keep this on you during your whole tour." And I did. And on that piece of paper was the Serenity Prayer. God, Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you.
You see what I meant when I said she's a magnitude of a woman? All of those achievements, and I'm so glad that we have so many young ladies in the room to hear that story. I mean, what an inspiration. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so I guess this really concludes our program. I thank all of you for attending, and have a lovely and pleasant day. And if you want to stay and mingle, I think we still have some more food.